we move on to our next speaker, Dr. Ahalya Sharma. Dr. Ahalya Sharma is an eminent personality in Ayurveda with over 20 years of experience as a professor, researcher, and guide. She has an MD in Shalya Tantra and PG diploma in yoga therapy. She's been a member of Ethical Committee of Ayurveda and Yoga projects at the NIMHANS Bangalore. She's currently working with Ayush on Ayurvedic responses to COVID-19. Dr. Ahalya, over to you, and we'll take Chef Manjeet Singh Gill ji as the next speaker, please.
Namaskar to all the panelists, to Vijay Lakshmi ji, to you, and to the viewers. It's been a wonderful session here. Actually, very emotional about after hearing the three speakers, very eminent, very respected. And, a blessing in this part of the country goes like this: Irabeku jivana idigalin hanga. A life must be like a full grain, which can be replicated and grow. Keep life intact till it is sown, and it can flower back anytime. Echoing the sentiments of Mayaji and Vandanaji, Ayurveda says, Ahara sambhava vastuhu dehaha, rogascha ahara sambhavaha. Our bodies are nothing but a product of what we eat. And the banana and the rice that I eat becomes my muscle and my bone. And that process of transformation, that method of eating was given prime importance in Ayurveda. A lot of what I wanted to speak has already been covered. And to regenerate the earth, to stop the unfoldment of newer diseases, as Vandanaji was saying, the sure way to understand is to get to the sacredness of eating, to follow the Taittiriya Upanishad again. Somewhere, the hope of a more wakeful, aware living dawns when seminars like this come up. In fact, I remember from my practice of 30 years, patients would earlier say, we want to come to you, but we don't want to do the pathya that you advise, the dietary principles that you advise. And here now we have people who come and ask me, what can I eat? Tell me, is this okay if I eat? So that movement of awareness actually brings in a lot of hope and faith in me. And with that, I continue to discuss a few points of seasonal eating habits of Ayurveda. Let me get on to some practical tips that we think of. I was treating a patient. It was the same spring season, which is known for allergies, the spring flu that is very common, Then I asked her, have you changed she said, my cough is back, my asthma is back. And I said, have you changed your eating habits? She was very amused. She said, how can I change my eating habits? I can change my dress according to seasons, but not my eating. And that is when I caught that word that she said and started using. Just as you change your dress as per season, please change your eating also as per season. And that is a very big dictum that Ayurveda talks of. The choice of season, either for a therapy, to give a rasayana therapy, like we say, virechana, the purgation has to be given annually in Sharad Rutu, sometime in the month of September to between September and November. So everything has been programmed as per season. It gives a lot of importance to time and space, desha and kala. In fact, I remember reading from Larry Dossey's book, Time, Space and Medicine, a particular sentence which goes like this. All real living is meeting. Meeting is not in time and space, but it is time and space meeting. Ayurveda defines Ayu, life as this. Sharirendriya Sattvatma Sanyogo Dhari Jivitam. The moment of integration of life force, Atma, with the other matter, the innate matter, the Jiva and the integration of Jiva and Jagat, as we may call it from the Vedantic tradition, to the point of disintegration of them all. That is our lifespan, Ayu, determined by time. And Desha gets a lot of importance because all this has to happen in a Desha. The concept of seasons Ayurveda had was from the Indian context, very tropical context. In fact, India itself has the temperate and the tropical zones, and we have the seasons divided into 6. We go as per that. And this was dependent on the movement of the sun either northward or southward, which was called the Dakshinayana and the Uttarayana. It was not just that it was a part of two major seasons of Dakshina and Uttarayana, but Dakshinayana gave power. It was called the Visarga Kala because a person became more resplendent in health. And we give the Rasayana therapy, the rejuvenative therapy, which must be administered at this point of time. And the Adana Kala or Uttarayana, Balam Adadati iti Adanam, that which takes away the power from the body, is from January 15th to July 15th, which comprised of three Rutus: the Shishira Rutu, the Vasanta Rutu, and the Grishma Rutu. These are the three Rutus: the spring, the late winter, spring, and summer. These were the 3 months in the Uttarayana, and the Dakshinayana had the rainy season, it had autumn, and it had the early winter. Going by the temperate climate of North India, we can have the early winter and the late winter, or a mild winter and a harsh winter. And if we come down to the tropical south, we have the early rainy and the regular rainy season. So whether it is Netherlands in the northern hemisphere or Australia in the southern hemisphere, as per the seasons, these dietary changes can be brought about, because ultimately all these changes come because of the 5 elements that we talk of. The Panchamahabhuta Siddhanta, which is the basic to understanding Ayurveda. And this Panchamahabhuta Siddhanta is that the 5 pentat, the earth, air, water, fire, and wind, these 5 elements are found in the herbs, in the medicines, in the plants, in the animate, inanimate world around us, and is also found in us. So any change outside will lead to a change inside, which we call as the Samanya Vishesha Siddhanta. That is, the principle of generality and specificity. A dry weather outside leads to a dry skin here. A humid weather outside leads to a lot of mucus formation. It is very common for a doctor to see certain diseases which come up in certain periods of time. The infectious diseases in summer, the pains that worsen in rainy season and in winter, the rheumatoid conditions which worsen. So we have the abscess and boils which come up in the Sharad Rutu, in the autumn months. So these are very common for us to see, and provided we follow the right dietary habits. As Madam was rightly mentioning, we have the non-communicable diseases. We are a pandemic of the non-communicable diseases, especially diabetes, with 72 million people, as she was saying. So the history runs forward. We have the PCOS, polycystic ovarian disease. We have obesity. We have all the minor illness syndrome, which is coming up. How do we stop them? And one of the major answers would be to follow the dietary habits of the season and eat locally grown products. In fact, it's been beautifully brought out by the earlier speakers. I would only go to say Ayurveda considers three kinds of desha, three kinds of areas, which is the sadharana, the common place, which is not very dry, not very arid, not very marshy. We have the other one, which is the very marshy place, and another one is the dry place. A dry place like Bidar, Rajasthan, etc. A marshy place that one can have. If we are born and brought up in a particular place, eating the food of that place is best suited for us. Ask me evidence. Vandana ji has already answered. We cannot take out a molecule and try to prove it. It's been there. It's been going on. Of course, there is a lot of research that is coming up also. I'll not go into it due to paucity of time. So eating locally, which suits the Panchamahabhutic constitution of my body and the soil and the air and the water that is there, is best suited for us. Coming on to the seasonal ideas, we have the 6 seasons. But before that, let me touch on to the Ayurvedic concept of nutrition. We don't go by the calorie, the carbohydrate, the fat, etc., but go more by the 6 rasas, or rather only by the 6 rasas. We have the 6 types of tastes, and depending on that, we have the nutrition. Eating all of them every day makes a person healthy, is what is said, but in the given proportion, which any Ayurveda doctor will tell you. In fact, our regular Indian cuisine, either south or north, has just that much. A small amount of jeera, a small amount of haldi, a certain sesame seeds, jaggery in its proportion, ghee were required, lot more dal, and then we have the madhura rasa, the sweet, either as wheat or as rice. So we have 6 tastes. The first of it is madhura or sweet taste, and the Panchabautic constitution goes as earth and water. So it is promotive in nature, promotes the strength, nourishes the body. 70% of what we eat is actually this. The other 5 tastes go on to give this, more like a tadka, go on to give this a flavor and give the requirements to the body. The sour taste is made up of earth and fire element. It is digestive in nature, makes the food tasty, nourishing as well. Grapes, lime, etc. are examples. Salt, which has water and fire. Therefore, eating more of it can lead to edema. It increases the digestive fire, destroys the inertness. In fact, it's common practice at home, if there is a certain catch in a particular part of the body, to heat salt and give fermentation with that. Not just with warm water, but with warm salt, because it reduces the stiffness of the part. So it destroys the inertness. And the examples would be watery vegetables like cucumber. Pungent, apart from the salt, all the different kinds of Saindav namak, the Kala namak, the regular sea salt, apart from that. Pungent, or the Katu rasa as we call it, the hot ones, it has air and fire as the ingredient, as the basic Panchabautic constituent, and dries up the secretions, clears the channel. Ginger, pepper, chilies are the examples. It improves the appetite. Bitter, which is tikta in Sanskrit, it has air and space in it. It decreases the appetite, dries up the moisture. Greens, salads, the bitter gourd, most of the herbs have bitterness in them, the bitter taste in them. And finally, the astringent or kashaya rasa. We call this very simply Madhuramla Lavana Katutikta Kashaya. And there is just one shloka which an Ayurveda doctor remembers to get the entire shloka, to get the entire knowledge out of it. Earth, air and earth are the constituents. So this is most of the medicines, tannins, teas have this. In fact, the tur dal and the moong dal that we use also have a certain amount of kashaya rasa in them. Coming on to the seasons, as I mentioned, we have the Shishira Rutu starting the late winter, starting January 15th to March 15th as per calendar. From the Bangalore point of view, it can be withdrawn. I mean, it can be preponed a little. And we have Vasanta Rutu, the spring. We have just completed Vasanta Rutu, where we have, in the Shishira Rutu, we have Madhura, Amla, Lavana, the sweet taste, the sour and the salty taste. So they are the taste we should give more importance to. And we need to avoid excess of sweet, excess of pungent, bitter, dry, cold, and raw vegetables.
Dr. Ahalya, I have to interrupt you. You are running out of time. Yeah, another minute. You're running out of time. We done with 10 minutes. Yeah, you can wind up.
Yes. So we have the 6 rutus and eating according to it. I may just give one example, and if I may conclude, like, we have rice. Suppose we make rice, and I have the rice with milk in a season. I have rice with vegetables in a particular season. Rice with ghee in a particular season. So eating according to season can prevent a lot of the chronic diseases that India is pandemic to. The ice creams and juices to be avoided in Vasanta Rutu, in the particular month that we are in. Where do we eat curds? Where do we avoid curds? These are some of the common ones. In fact, a lot of literature is available on the internet, and any Ayurveda doctor will be able to help you with these. Running out of time, I'd like to conclude that the most important thing we need to know is eat locally. Think of the weather. No need to buy apples from somewhere, paying a lot of money, or lychees from somewhere. The guavas grown in and around Bangalore would do the necessary thing. Ahara, food, nidra, sleep, and brahmacharya. These were considered as the tripod for good health from Ayurveda. And translate the food seasons as per the prevailing conditions. Look around and see what is available locally. Cook them and eat them well. Cook them just moderately, not with much of spices and not with much of masala, as we say. So the role of soil, water, wind, etc. has already been brought about. Ultimately, what is required is awareness to get into it. And with this, and most of the diseases in dinacharya and rutucharya, if you just Google into these two words, a lot of information is available. Due to paucity of time, I will probably end here. And this wisdom was in the form of a tradition, was in the form of certain customs, like in the Dhanurmasa, when we got up in the Shishira Rutu and Hemanta, we had early morning, long nights, therefore there would be hunger in the morning, and we got up to eat the pongal as a prasadam made out of jaggery, rice, etc. So these customs have now been halted for reasons we all know, but it's still there documented, which can be rejuvenated anytime. We can take them out and start working on them. And this would be the basic duty of an Ayurvedic doctor, who is first a dietitian and then a person who would prescribe medicines. So food becomes our first medicine. Whatever is predominant in taste, we call it as food. Whatever is predominant in potency or virya is called medicine. There's not much of a difference between food and medicine, and eating seasonally and locally is the basic dictum of Ayurveda. Hope we can get back to that wisdom with seminars like this. I thank Vijayalakshmi ji and Rupa ji for giving me this opportunity. Any questions later, I'm more than willing to answer. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Ahalya. A very enriching talk on Ayurvedic practices, very informative. I have had a pleasure of hearing you before, listening to your talk before at the Ahara, and it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.